Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at the Evil deck and the Good deck from Thirdway Industries. These decks have a bit of an interesting history to them, and it all goes back to this deck right here, the original Evil deck from back in 2014. This was the very first deck that Giovanni ever created. He designed this deck of cards following on his passion and his career as a graphic designer, but he was kind of looking for ways to get the deck funded and finally produced before stumbling across the Discourse Deck Design Contest. It was a contest where the winner would get funding to have their deck produced and printed by the expert playing card company. Giovanni entered the contest, won it running away, and the Evil deck that you see here was the result. And of course, the rest is history. But at the time, not only did he produce the design for the Evil deck, he also made a second deck that was never printed at the time, a companion deck called the Good deck. Now that deck has sort of been in the background for a long time. Many Thirdway collectors, including myself, knew of the existence of the deck, but of course it was never produced. And so after years of lots of collectors asking for the deck to be made, myself included, the Good deck has finally been created here in 2022. Now, both decks that you see here were part of the Thirdway Industries Patreon, something I highly recommend if you're not a member yourself. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to check that out. But they'll also be available on the site, so if you like what you see here, I'll put a link down in the description where you can go check these out for yourself. But for me, it's been quite a journey, not only with Thirdway Industries and kind of going back to the original with the Evil deck, but to finally see the Good deck get made. So let's check out these decks and see how they turned out. All right, so we'll look at both of them. Of course, we're going to save that Good deck for just a little bit longer and start out with the Evil deck. Now, this deck has a lot of the same artwork from the original deck, and you can see the similarities right off the bat. Of course, the color's been changed and the printer's been changed. So where the originals were created by expert playing card companies, the new version was created by the USPCC. Features a tuck case that's very simple, meant to be kind of a player's deck. On that regular glossy finish tuck case, no embossing or anything like that, kind of standard for USPCC, and features a really bold graphic and relatively simple design, especially by Giovanni's standards. This one's been changed up to be a brilliant, vivid purple color with the white artwork on it. Just very simply, it has the Evil deck and then some of that random iconography, including the array of blades there at the bottom. Fun, whimsical feel to it overall, but you can still see little elements of what would kind of evolve as Giovanni's style later in his career. On the side, you get the Evil deck with the shocked little bat there in the center. Same thing on the other side. Bottom has your ad copy, mentions of course Thirdway Industries and USPCC who printed the deck. Top, mainstay of any Thirdway Industries deck, you can just get the 4 suits there. And the back has another representation of the Evil deck with that sort of winged emblem in the middle and then the blades at the bottom. So this is not the back design of the cards, but we'll see that in a second. Opening it up, you get another little monster creature here, the eyeball with the teeth surrounding it. Inside, a couple little evil bats and nothing printed on the interior of the tuck. I will say the original tuck case for the Evil deck actually had embossing, a tuck seal, and some interior printing as well. So a bit of a simpler tuck overall for the V2 version of the Evil deck. Taking a look at the back design of the cards, again, you'll see some of that kind of random iconography and little bits and pieces all the way around that are featured in a lot of the Thirdway Industries decks, but a much simpler graphic style. Kind of has a very loose border, kind of undefined border, that bright purple background to the cards, really bright pop to it, and then the white artwork in the center, featuring those two one-eyed winged monsters on the top and the bottom, and then sort of circular design in the center with kind of a shuriken in the middle, and then that patterned background, little crossbones, just little random evil symbols all the way around. Again, it kind of features that rough border, so not really a hard defined border around the edge, but it does kind of have a thicker feel. There's lots of empty space around, so it kind of makes it feel like it's a thick border deck. But nice, simple, kind of fun, a little bit random, off the wall back design on this one. And then we get onto the cards. Now, Expert only prints with 54 cards, whereas USPCC prints with 56 cards. So we get 4 cards instead of the regular 2 extra cards you get with Expert. The first 2 Jokers are the same Jokers basically that are included in the original Evil deck, and you can see the fun designs on these. One of them, that sort of Grim Reaper in a Jester's costume, and the other one, a bit of, I suppose this is an evil angel of death or something like that, or maybe this is meant to be like a good and evil contrast between the two. But fun color palette. The colors have been kind of brightened up from the original one. So the original one had a little bit darker purples and reds. This one really kind of brings forward the brightness of the deck, but features those big one-way designs on these, but really fun illustrations overall. And then you get 1 new Joker. So this one is not featured in the original deck, but makes its way into V2, and you have the witch there with the 2 black cats on either side. Really like this one overall. A little bit more intricate of a design, a little bit more detail going on compared to the other 2, I think. And you get a bit of an ad card that just mentions the Evil deck itself. All right, and then on to the rest of the deck. So the Ace of Spades is the power ace, has a simple version of the Thirdway logo, just that simple TW, and nice little quote down here, "It all started here," just sort of a tribute to where the entire Thirdway line started. Of course, this one's from 2022, and it features that huge spade pip in the center with our monster in the middle, that winged one-eyed, or I don't know, crazy, bizarre one-eyed monster there in the middle. The colors here done on a kind of deep purple rather than the typical black, and it mixes in with that red and yellow to create a really nice color palette overall. And as you go through, every single one of the cards has a distinct illustration on them, kind of a whole cast of evil characters. Here's some other headhunters in there. Just a fun and random mix overall. When Giovanni was drawing this, he basically drew a card every day over the course of a really long time to produce all the different fun and whimsical designs that we see on here overall. I love the illustrations. One of the other things I like on these, you'll see each one of the cards is associated with the number in some way. So you have the 9 of spades here, and you'll notice surrounding this little mummy kind of character, you have 9 skull and crossbones surrounding. Or on the 10 here, the Medusa head has the 10 eyes on the little strands of hair going around. It's a fun look overall. Court cards, more of the same, kind of fun illustrations. They're given a purple background that kind of distinguishes them as court cards. And again, just sort of adding to that cast of evil characters. This is a fun one, the Jack of Spades. Originally, he didn't have the eye patch here on the Jack of Spades, but a lot of people with feedback for the design mentioned, hey, that Jack of Spades, usually a one-eyed Jack. So he went in and added that eye patch to make it a one-eyed Jack. There's the Ace of Diamonds with the big sword in the center. And then we get to kind of a more red palette for the diamonds. So you'll see little bits in here, all sorts of fun bits inspired from all different parts of mythology. Here's some little, I don't know, goblins, I guess I would call them here. But just a fun overall design. There's a pirate themed one. Really like that one, the knight on the pile of skulls there. But just a really great look to these. Definitely simpler, but you can still see sort of elements of Giovanni's future design sense and the things that he would bring forward into his more intricate decks in the future. So really nice look to them. You'll see some of the more provocative females on the queens. That's definitely something that he brought forward as part of his design sense for sure. But love the looks of these. The nods to mythology, like there's a look at the Hydra on the 9 of clubs. Just a really cool look. 7 of clubs, this is another interesting one. So the reason there's 7 cats on here, in Italy, cats are said to have 7 lives. Here in the US, we say a cat has 9 lives, but in Italy, they say they have 7 lives, and so you get 7 cats here on the 7 of clubs. That's a really cool looking creature. But just fun looks to them. There's Cerberus on the 3 of clubs. Just a really great cast of characters. King of Hearts has that suicidal king, that classic pose. There's the Queen of Hearts. This was actually the very first card that he drew in the entire deck. Another one-eyed Jack there on the Jack of Hearts. And then finishing through the rest of the Hearts cards. Just a fun look, great whimsical characters all the way through, and just a really fun time going through the entire completely varied set of characters. This one said printed by USPCC, so fans really smoothly. If you felt a regular bicycle deck, you're familiar with what this deck's gonna feel like out of the box. But that is just one of the 2 decks. We got to look at the Evil deck, but let's look at the new addition to this one, the Good deck. So this is meant to be a companion deck, and so you'll see a lot of similarities to the evil deck. Very similar design sense, but a lot of the iconography on this one, some of the more evil symbols like the knives have been replaced with something a little bit more benign. In this case, we have the feathers here, or the ankh, a symbol of life down there at the bottom. The evil bat wings have been replaced with angel wings, and the bat with a halo. But otherwise, a lot of the same elements. And this one done on a really nice bright blue color overall. Of course, says the good deck on the sides, bottom similar ad copy, and on the back here, the good deck instead of the evil deck. Now we get similar sort of monster, but this time with a bit of a goofy grin, and then the suns on the inner flaps. So fun little changes in this one to make the evil a little bit more good, but let's look at the cards. And back design, again, very similar look and feel to the evil deck, so it definitely pairs well with it, but a lot more fun and whimsical symbols overall. So little hearts over here on the side, the ankhs, the halos, so now these characters are a little bit more winged angel sort of inspired, the little floating hearts. The bright blue background, I think, goes well with the purple as well, so nice color palette choice on this one. Turning to the cards themselves, you'll see very similar overall aesthetic, and that's not an accident. So we get the 3 jokers here, and they have a very similar look and feel compared to the evil deck. And that's because every one of the cards here is sort of a good representation of the evil one from the evil deck. So over here you can see that skull with the scythes there, the Grim Reaper sort of look for the evil Joker. Now the good Joker takes on a little bit more fun of a feel, and that kind of takes place for every single card in the entire deck. All of them with sort of different good representations of the evil from the original deck. But fun looks to the Jokers overall, a little bit more of a different color palette featuring blues and pinks, kind of uplifting a little bit compared to the purples and reds of the evil deck. And then of course you get the good deck ad card. And this time our Ace of Spades features a different quote. So remember we had where it all began, or it all started here on the evil deck, and love this one on the good deck. It took 8 years. So kind of a reference to the fact that this deck has been on the shelf for 8 long years. But there's your big spade pip, and this time with the more angelic creature in the middle. And then same idea, we get kind of more fun, whimsical versions of all of the cards that we saw in the evil deck. A little bit more happiness, but each one of these cards, if you get both decks, you can kind of hold them side by side and see the parallels from one deck to another, which I think is a great touch overall. So very cool look to them overall. Here are Jack of Spades, still a one-eyed Jack, but this time just with the bishop with one eye only. The blue background to kind of differentiate the court cards here. And love the sort of serene look, that King of Spades, that's a really cool card. And then into the diamonds, which now go to kind of a pinkish color, not quite red, but a little bit more pink. And just lots of fun little characters to go through as you go on these. There's the Phoenix, that's a really nice one. And then there's your diamond courts. And then into the clubs, kind of a quizzical dragon there, less evil, I guess. And there's your 7 cats, so this time with a little goofy grin on the cat's face there. Remember the 7 cats with 7 lives in Italy. The bees, just really love these, and love the parallel of the unicorn there on the Ace of Clubs. There, we still have a suicidal king, but he seems, I don't know, a little bit more calm or happy about it. Then there's the another one-eyed Jack, this time with the little lock of hair over Cupid's eye there. But again, just a fun look to it, and it's just really cool to see this deck finally get made after so many years. And again, same thing, these are also printed by USPCC, just like the evil deck, so you'll be used to the handling of these without a doubt. And that is it. That is the 2 decks finally getting made. A great pair, and really exciting to have these see the light of day. So if you are a fan of Thirdway Industries, if you really want to celebrate some of the history of Thirdway Industries, can't recommend picking these up highly enough. They're available now, so without a doubt, go check them out. And if you haven't already, check out the Thirdway Industries Patreon, because it has been phenomenal to get sort of insights into these decks before they're made, and of course get that quarterly package of decks, which this quarter included the good and the evil deck. So anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.